Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 200th episode of the Something Something podcast. With me, as always, is Larry Sands. How's it going, Larry?
Oh man, it's great. I can't believe 200. 2000.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And,
Can't believe it.
when we talked about doing this, we were wondering how are we going to do it? And I was like, you know what? We need someone to host it. And I thought, why not get the third
Wait.
host?
Right, but really, I mean, we were gonna get what? Who were we trying to get? Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he turned us down. Ryan Seacrest was an almost.
Right. Well, he was busy. He was getting ready for New Year's Eve. That's what they told us.
Yeah. And
So
taking over Wheel of Fortune and then all the other stuff he does. But no,
that's right.
no joking around. I'm gonna get serious for a minute. A lot of the people we've had on, we've become friends with, but
Yes.
we'll say now, Dylan Tillman, hey, how's it going, Dylan?
Yo.
It's going. Woo woo.
Yo.
Yeah.
We were
Brother from another
Facebook
mother, right
friends.
there.
I love when you said this is the 200 episode. You counted to 2000. I want you to know that. That's why
did
my
I add an extra
you're like
zero?
2000. Like, yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, out of all the guests we've had on, Dylan's been the most important to me because it went from just, social media friends to someone I do consider my little brother. I mean, I love this guy so much. And each victory you have in life, I'm always so more proud and happy for you than you are yourself. So, we couldn't think of a better person to do the host. I mean, and we need the restart Smells Like Teen Horror eventually.
Yes.
Yeah. I know I'm sure we'll get into it because this is going to be a very laxed episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, this is the type of thing where it's like, if you're listening, you should be listening to this at like freaking 9 a.m. in the morning. You're making your cup of coffee. You're just chilling out, putting this on in the background. That's how lax and relaxed this is going to be. But yeah, I've known these two idiots for far too long in my life now.
He's talking about you, Eric. Don't talk
Yeah.
about Eric like that.
That's the nice way. See, everybody else knows the squeaky clean Dylan.
Right.
I get the other Dylan, that no one else knows about.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Dylan, honestly, I met you when we started doing Smells Like Teen Horror. And then obviously the kind of impact that you've had, not just on me, but Eric. My God, you came all the way to Texas and you were in a movie.
He did it twice, I want to point out.
It's amazing.
Let me tell you, if I can make it happen, I will try to make it happen.
I love it.
Regardless, if it's for people, the best decision I ever did was not listen to my parents when they said, don't talk to strangers. Because all I do is talk to strangers. And now I talk to them on the internet. And it's great. I think it's a great advice. I would happily bestow that on Tongue to a Kiss. You know what? Yes, get into the little white van with candy. It might taste good. You might have
now because of this, we're gonna put links are in the bottom of the description. So like if you feel like the need to hit up Dylan Tillman to be your best buddy, or I don't know, lover, who knows?
Yes, I can't tell you how much time I spend chatting online with just other people. But my mom might text me, and I'd be like, I'll get to her later.
I love it.
I tell you.
It's obviously, we've been busy and I'm, and we don't normally, get to talk and just hang out because it's like, hey, what's up? Hey, I gotta go. Hey, what's up? What? But this is how it is, people. When we get on the phone, anytime we get near each other, this is what it is. This is a true friendship right here.
So, and it's usually two of us double teaming to make fun of the other person. But then a minute later, it reverses. Like me and Larry could be making fun of Dylan. Then me and Dylan will switch and make fun of Larry. Then Larry and Dylan will make fun of me.
What? You guys make fun of me?
Larry, keep up now.
Oh yeah, okay.
I just want to point this out. In order to get Larry to read a script, it's kind of like getting a 5-year-old to eat vegetables. I gotta hold him down on the chair, and Dylan has to start reading to him. It's still like,
Yeah.
no,
Like,
no,
hey, Larry,
no.
we're gonna do a podcast episode. It's like, okay, yeah, get on here. All right. So open up to page 1. Now we're gonna read a script. Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do. I mean,
man.
yeah, so
Oh, God.
yeah.
I miss this, you guys. I miss
So do I, man.
and it is a good thing because it's like Eric was saying, you know, our 200th episode, which is big. I mean, you know, reruns come out of what 100 episodes on TV.
Yeah, we were in syndication a while ago.
Right. Now we're in double syndication.
Yeah.
But honestly, you know, to have you as a because like it was weird when Eric and I were talking about, well, we interview each other, right? But then we were like, no, we should have Dylan do it because he's really good and he's a really good friend. And I mean, you know everything that we've been doing. And
Yeah.
so who better to do it than a very good friend? So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Always.
Thank you. So so we've talked nothing about like any questions that you have. We haven't really talked about the show. So Eric, you're the mastermind, or maybe Dylan.
Dylan's
how do you
Dylan's
wanna
in
start
charge
this?
tonight.
Yeah.
I am in charge. So sit down, be quiet, and it's time to listen to this kid's voice. All right. But yeah, no, how this is gonna work, listeners, is pretty much it's gonna be like, I guess this is actually something you would probably do as episode 1, I guess, maybe, or episode 2, but we're doing it episode 200. We're allowing you to finally get to meet us, know us, like what our lives kind of look like outside the cameras when they're turned off. I guess or a recording thing. I don't know. Why did they make me lead this, y'all? Hopefully they don't hurt me. So I'm just gonna ask them a few questions. They've got the space. They can be as long-winded as they like. You know how to fast forward if they bore you. Okay, so you don't have to tell us. Okay, the algorithm's never gonna. They're never gonna know. But yeah. So my first question, honestly, we're jumping right to the leaderboard, Mr. Eric.
Okay.
So I was thought maybe you live up north.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to say, first off, how's it been, this year? How's it been? Because you live in a different, because when we met you, you were gobsmacked by the amount of driving that had to happen. So I just always like to get from a northerner's perspective, just the lifestyle that is going on up north, because, some of us simple folks have to drive everywhere we go.
Well, see, here's the thing. Now I usually will take an Uber or have my mom drop me off. But when I lived in LA, man, I can still get you on any bus or subway you want. And here's a weird thing. My bus that I used to take to get from my place to church was 181. No, 180 or bus 180. Now, horror fans know how terrifying the numbers 180 are.
I know. Flight 180,
Final Destination.
Baby. Yep,
It was Flight 180.
Eric's trying to do math right now. Larry was trying to do math. He's like, I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. Like, I can figure this out. 180. I feel like I'm supposed to know this. I can see the wheels turning in his head.
You know what? The thing about where Eric lives up in Jersey, it blew my mind. And I'm a simple person, but when you walk out of his house and you walk up to the main street, you can see the outline of Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing because you live right there, 20-minute bus ride, 25-minute?
A 25-minute bus ride out of Manhattan.
Yeah. And to be that close, but yet so far away, I think that's like the ultimate thing. And I just want to say that. But then also, I love the subway. I love the subway system. I wish there was a subway that went to your house to Manhattan, but
yeah, so do I. But one of the weird things about being in Texas for me was all the driving that has to be done.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, how does a state not have a mass transit system?
Oh no, it's
No,
too big.
no,
You know,
no.
when you do go, like, obviously LA and New York and here, there's Dallas and Fort
Mm.
Worth. And I mean, there is a transit system, but I don't think it's anywhere as near, um and it's probably all important, but I think people overlook it because everybody has cars,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Or some
Yeah.
other, like a motorcycle, I guess a vehicle. But
And
yeah,
I
so
feel like outside of like maybe there's like a few Greyhounds if you really need to go from one place to another, but ultimately the transit options that they offer, especially for us Southern folks,
yeah.
is just mainly just to get around from point A to point B within the inner city for the
Yeah.
most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm probably speaking for Larry too here, as Southern folks, we're just accustomed to having our own vehicle.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
always ingrained to
Yeah.
us. So for me, getting on a subway or taking, like, you're talking about 180 bus, and I'm like, well, what? I get the 180, but I don't get like the I'll never understand like a map like that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do understand like my car and like
Yeah.
how to get from like, okay, so, and I don't know, maybe part of me kind of likes being able to drive. Yeah, it sucks that I can't just walk out of my house, take a right, and like boom, there's a gas station or something if I need to go
Yeah.
buy something to eat.
Yeah.
We don't really have that luxury. We have to get in the car and maybe drive 5 minutes,
Right.
or whatnot. But yeah, we Southern folks. So Larry is down in Texas.
Yep.
So where he's very close to Hades. It's very
Yeah,
always
all the
hot.
time. It's crazy. It's there's never there's never a fall or a spring. It's either super hot or mildly cold, which I love the mildly cold, right?
I would not survive. Yeah, I chose to live at the beach. Okay, so when it gets mild, it does, and we get cold here. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Okay, I live in North Carolina. I live on the coast. I was always told that like, oh, at the beach it's the beach. So I was expecting for Texas weather. Okay, I want to be close to Hades. So when I die, it's like I'm not taking that many steps down. Okay, I'm already happy.
Well, you do like horror movies, so
I
you
do like
can't be a
horror.
Christian and like horror movies.
Right, that's what they say. Although, that's one of the things is I love to tell people anytime, anywhere, especially on the show, on the podcast, is I get a kick out of saying or hearing Eric say, yeah, we met at church, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, you just said we met at church and you're like one of the biggest horror people and you write about killing teenagers. That's hilarious.
Because I almost became a youth pastor. Dylan's worked in youth ministry.
Yeah. And then I write too. I don't write killing teenagers. I write killing men, particularly. I just like trauma. I like to just kill people's trauma and gaslight people's trauma. That's what I like to do.
There you go.
So yeah,
There you go.
put me in. Yeah, they were like, you probably put us, me and Eric, in a massive church role. We'll be like, have you heard of Scream?
Oh,
One thing I always thought would have been so much fun if we would have done youth ministry together. Like, could you imagine us going to a camp with kids? One of us would have been dressed as Jason, walking through doing checkout.
The way I would tell the Blair Witch, like a story around the campfire. Like, come on now. Don't tease me with a good time, Eric. I actually think that this is supposed to be our life.
I think we should start it. We should start a church, or just get a job as youth ministers somewhere.
Look, I'm already a Swiftie. I've got a cult behind me. We got this. I can get some people at a campsite tomorrow.
There you go.
We're good. We're good.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So talk about, I guess, living in Texas, Larry. I wanted to break the ice by just talking about our locations, because that's, you know, they asked me if I wanted to do this yesterday, listeners, also. So I was
Yeah.
like, sure, we can do this.
Well, like Texas, I love Texas. Grew up here, then I moved to Los Angeles. I miss Los Angeles dearly. But one of the things, and I think Eric that you may agree with, and I know you've said it before, is I think moving away from California has probably, well, I know has really started me working full time doing film, doing video, um editing, doing sound design, whatever has come up in the last, 4 years really is because of the move, I should say. Because when you're surrounded, it's like being in a candy store. It's like, when you have so much candy that you don't know what to choose, and all these sea of filmmakers and actors, you've become just another face in the sea of people. When auditions roll around, when things come up, I think one of the big things about living here, I wish it could be colder, but I got a lot of sweaters and jackets from my California days that I don't get to use except a couple times a year. But having said that, it is a big thing because when you have to wait for other people, and it's almost like you have to have a permission thing, right? Almost where you have to cast me. Okay, I'll wait, right? But I don't know if that answers your question, but I think, you know, being here in Texas, it's different. It's a lot different. Different in good ways. But yeah, miss being in Los Angeles with all our friends and family that had become friends. So yeah, yeah.
Well, I have a question for both of you. Since neither of us really come from major cities, like, New Jersey is really more of a Midwest state. I mean, the New York realistically couldn't be further. Do you think that the way we work is our work ethic really comes from where we are, being from working class areas? Dylan?
Actually, that was where I was gonna go to next.
Okay.
I love that. See, I know these guys too much. They already can probably predict where I'm gonna go. Um, because yes, I actually think, because I think there's this logic ingrained to us as a kid. Well, if you want to make it in Hollywood, you have to live in Hollywood,
Right.
or you have to live in New York. And I think that we're starting to finally see the fruits that that's not exactly the true. And I don't think, even if I wasn't even trying as hard as I am, or trying as hard as we are, we could see that that's actually not necessarily true. Independent films have been shot all around the globe. They don't just get shoot in two places, and I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, where they shoot a lot. They do shoot a lot of stuff here. We have Scream 5, Halloween Kills, Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, like a bunch.
What show? What show?
A little Dawson's Creek.
The greatest TV show in the history of
I just
mankind.
know that you like to slide that in at some point. So during an episode.
Eventually, I'm gonna do a thing how the WB, which let's be honest, was the most important TV network ever. Every horror movie from '97 till the early 2000s connects to the WB or Dawson's Creek in particular.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would agree. And the most important show to ever come out was Buffy. So that's that.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Buffy.
Awesome.
So we support her, we stand her, we worship Buffy.
But go on though. I was, it's a joke, but go on.
Yeah. So I think that yeah, I would say that it doesn't necessarily matter where you live if you want to get into making movies, or shoot, even if you wanted to get in, not do independent films, and you wanted to jump into the Hollywood scene. I think that movies are being shot in almost every state nowadays. So if you live, you might have to drive a little bit, but if you don't live up in Jersey with Eric, or in, you more than likely also have a car. So you're probably content with driving, more than likely 3 hours for a shoot or something like that. But like you don't, even if you're just trying to get into like the Hollywood game, there are movies being shot everywhere, and you just keep a look at your local newspaper or your online ads for maybe extra roles or PAs, because obviously that's probably going to be your best bet starting off, especially if you don't have anything on a resume.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did. So like any other person, I just took any extra role and then any PA role on some person's independent project that was being shot in town. And then, oh, well, now I've done that stuff. I guess if a Hollywood thing pops up, I can do that now.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how like I've been doing it. And you do it on your free time with your other jobs. Might have to take a little bit of time off, use a PTO day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listening, Eric, and as well as I do, that everybody that we've ever interviewed here on the show, and Dylan, you, just to echo what you said, like every author, every musician, every actor, they don't live in Hollywood. They don't live in Los Angeles. And look at what they're doing. Because again, to echo, what you said, Dylan, is everybody, even filmmakers nowadays, they don't need to be anywhere but they're present in their craft, and wherever they are in their city or community, and you don't even need, this is a big one, your cell phone is enough. And they have free editing software out there that you can pick up the camera and you can hone your craft just where you are.
To echo that, Larry, DaVinci Resolve. Now, again, editors are very loyal to their software.
Yes.
I'm a big Premiere guy, but Resolve, man, you can do everything. Even the free version, you can do everything in it. Like if I want to do effects, I gotta transfer that Premiere thing to After Effects, which is a headache. But in Resolve,
really,
you just click the other thing.
This is odd because this takes me back to, remember when Final Cut 7 was finishing and it was almost,
oh my God, the
DOA,
revolt,
dead in the water, right? Exactly, Dylan. And I don't really like Final Cut 10, and you were like, no, you got to try Premiere. And I'm like, all right, great, fine. I did it and didn't look back. So I love it. And I can tell you where I was. I was in Los Angeles. I think it was a couple years ago. I was shooting right in the middle of something, and we were doing a podcast talking about Premiere. And then I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. Switched over. But I have to try DaVinci Resolve because, because not a whole lot of people have Premiere or Adobe, but they'll go with, DaVinci Resolve because it's free. And to hear you say that you can do effects without having to have, After Effects and things like that.
Everything's in there.
More fast, because to me, that's what it is being a good filmmaker is, obviously shooting it, but then editing in a fast, expedient way, make it nice, because not everybody, has, or everybody you work with, they don't have the time to wait for 2 or 3 months on a commercial or whatever, or a promo. And so that's good to try. So everybody out there, you're a filmmaker, pick up your phone and then use DaVinci Resolve. It's absolutely free.
Yeah. And shoot, that also goes with writing software. So if you're not even trying to be a director and you're trying to write, I mean, my goodness, there are so many writing platforms, whether it's down to like Fade-In or Final Draft or a bunch of different things that are offering either a discounted rate or, hey, they might even be completely free or something like that. You just got to know where to look, where you can like learn. And I recommend personally downloading that stuff because, I mean, the best way that I've learned anything is not within the classroom. It's just been the trial and error of just myself out on a film set and being like, hey, look, this person's not doing this. We can't use them today. We need you to do this today. All right, let me play around. Okay, I need to learn how to write a montage sequence. Okay, well, let me just play around. Like, I can write a bunch of fake montage sequences, see like what works for me, that I can comprehend what's going on in the scene, because I am a student of public education, whether I like it or not, baby, in the South. So I didn't really get, the New York and
Right.
LA level of grandeur of school education. Okay, don't quiz me on they, their, thems, and stuff like that. I might struggle.
Same here. I hate that there's 3 ways to spell two.
Exactly. It makes no damn sense.
Why the
with
hell are
freeways?
there silent letters?
Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Knife?
Yeah, and let me tell you, you don't. And what we're saying is like, yeah, you don't have to like be a scholar to make it, and your quality can still be good, because let me tell you, even when it comes to like watching something, if there's passion behind it, most people, it will always find an audience. That's why
Right.
Rob Zombie is as popular as he is with some of his films, because he might have some rough edges here and there, but like his films are popular because he has like personality that pops up on a project, on a film.
You know, that brings up a very good point, because I think, Eric and I, we started our podcast obviously to stay in contact, but with each other when we had drifted apart, and to come back and keep up with each other, and now it's evolved into this really creative space where creative people can come on, talk about their projects, talk about their passion, their difficulties, because it is hard. It's very hard to be a creative person, not just in LA, but you have the creative vibe going on. But when you live in the South, right? Any Midwest town where it's a blue collar town, they look at creative people not in the same way, right? And it's kind of hard to get in that headspace. And I think that's where, at least and I think maybe Eric does too, in a way, is to show people that they can do and be creative where they are. It takes a lot, and they're not alone in this. Whether you live in New York or Los Angeles, it's all hard. It's just being out of your head. But then, Dylan, you have a great perspective on filmmaking, and what you see works, and obviously what doesn't. But when you go to these festivals and you talk to these filmmakers, I mean, you see all their blemishes, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
in film festivals, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I do a lot of film, as we all know, I do a lot of film festival scenes. Legally, I am considered a film critic, but
Yeah.
I talk about it but I do this. Like, this is my thing is speaking. I'm not a great writer necessarily, but I can speak very well, and I know how to articulate what I'm saying. So a lot of times, yeah, I go to these film festivals, and my way of just getting into the industry has just been running my damn mouth. And
I love that. I love
okay,
it.
I am an extrovert. I'll throw myself in any situation. So that's just been how I've been able to get it. And you don't have to be an extrovert. Your 3 friends that you have, tag them along with everything. One of them is bound to be the public speaker. They can take care of that. You can just do what you've got to do. But yeah, I do a lot of traveling, so that's been kind of my blessing. And because I've been doing a lot of traveling, I've been in a sense, I just network with all these people, and I just start making connections. And then if you're not and what I've learned in life is, if you're not a 100% dick all the time, sometimes what comes around goes around. And maybe somebody will call you up when you're crying and be like, I didn't get Taylor Swift tickets. Would you like some Taylor Swift tickets? And like, yes, how much did I send you? Exactly. Some stuff like that might happen. So yeah, the rule of the thumb is, don't always be a dick. because there are plenty of dicks out there in the world.
Yes, there
Okay,
is. Yes,
in
Yeah.
between
there is.
people's legs and walking among us as
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I love, and Eric, I know you were about to say something, but I think this is what I love is collectively, we've really taken YouTube and podcasting and turned it into a career. And what I mean by that, and this is what I love, is to be able to talk to people about what they do, but and also have people contact us and hire us
Yeah.
to shoot, edit, create podcasts, create audio books, and really it started out how it's supposed to start out. Nowadays you watch YouTube and they make everything look so easy, then people go do it and they're like, man, this is not that easy. But and Dylan, like, Eric and I, we've been, Eric's been filmmaker a lot longer than me. I started in acting, but you started doing YouTube in almost really the infancy, but
yeah.
but you are the epitome, as well as I think we are, in that we've shown our worth, I think, by
Yeah.
podcasting, YouTubing, to get to where we're at this place now where we've got people going, hey, would you come to my film festival for you? Or hey, Larry and Eric, I hear you guys do podcasts. You produce podcasts.
Yeah.
Are you guys available to talk about? And I think that in an essence is the way that things should work. Obviously, this is our passion, right?
Mhm.
Collectively being out there and talking and doing what we love, but then turning that passion into an actual career where we make a little bit of money. Actually, a lot of money. Let's not fool each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
no, exactly. And this is great because it's going to segue into the next segment I wanted to talk about, which is work. But yeah, I came from an era of YouTube, which I like to call the trial era, where you just did whatever, you just threw it out there, and that you kind of just learned as you went along. That's kind of why I'm glad I started on the YouTube. I started in 2010. Okay,
yeah.
this was not cool in 2010.
100%. Yeah.
100% not cool. I almost sometimes get a little mad at people, and it's all jealousy and all just inner, like how like everybody now wants to do this, and I'm like, baby, I was not, this was not cool back in 2010. Okay, all right. So I just agree with all of that assessment, and it is cool because now we do make a little bit of money. In fact, I just got, like, now I start getting asked, what's my rate?
It's
What
so awesome, man.
yeah, what's your rate?
I
Not,
love it.
we're going to we've got this for this fee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're telling
Right.
me, you
Yeah.
asking me my rate? Now I'm not gonna lie. For those listening, my rate is extremely low, which is why I'm able to get what I get, because I
Exactly.
deliberately
That's why you can work so much.
Exactly. I deliberately, because I do have another job, and that job pays the bills and it gets me my health insurance. So I try
Yeah.
to always keep this as fun and free as possible.
Yeah.
But I do have a rate. But now, yeah, like, and
Love
that's a luxury that I never thought would come falling in my lap in 2010
Yeah.
when I started all of this. Plus, in 2010, you couldn't even make money off this stuff. So I think that that's also showcases where, like, where the passion has always been versus the desire. Because, like, a love, I've always viewed love as like a moving target.
Yeah.
It's like, it's never something that's like, so that's why you've got to find what makes you happy, because when you're happy, you can follow love, because love is always moving. So, you're chasing love, it might go too fast. So, which is why some people get burned out. But we've all been doing this for years, years. So now I wanted to move into the craft, talk about a little bit about, now what's great and exciting is, while I am so informed with these people's lives, so I know what they can and cannot talk about, which is just, in a way, amazing to know in life. You have things that you can and cannot talk about.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So We're going to start to move into the craft of
Yes.
what these two gentlemen have been doing.
Cool.
So, Eric,
Yeah.
you are a director, you're a screenwriter, you are an editor, you're all that stuff. So I wanted to pick your head from the start in a way. Now, not from the start when you came out of the womb. Don't give me
Yeah.
that. Okay. You know, I was born as a Taurus. Um,
And he
uh,
means a literal Taurus. I had to have
yeah.
surgeries to become human.
Exactly. Yeah. Not yeah. So I thought you would talk a little bit about your upbringing in filmmaking and so I know you can't really talk about your projects right now.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe you could talk about what maybe fulfills you within your projects that you and what you might what actually probably scares you in necessarily when you're filmmaking projects. So
Wow.
I'm gonna shut up now. The mic's on
Okay,
you.
so I've talked about this before. Being a gypsy, education wasn't a big thing to my family. But when I was a little kid, I got a VHS camcorder for Christmas, and I started making really crappy movies with my toys and my dog. I never thought making movies was an option. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Then, when I was 17, I became a Christian and thought I was going to go into full time ministry. But I also always loved movies, especially, horror movies, sci fi movies. And I remember I was studying to get my, GED. But then a teacher mentioned, you can go to community college without a GED and study film. I left night school then. The Los Angeles City College was right near me, like walking distance. So I started taking classes there, learning that, it's legal for people outside of the system to make movies. And yeah, and also remember, I was a teenager in the independent boom
Yeah.
when Rodriguez, Tarantino, Smith were all blowing up. So I started getting, you don't need millions upon millions of dollars to do this. So with me, it was just that starting in film school and learning the actual craft of it and what I'm good at, what I'm not good at when it comes to filmmaking.
Love that. Love that. Is there anything in particularly in filming that you enjoy doing the most? Like a particular job?
Whichever stage I'm in is what I like the most. Like when
Oh,
I'm writing,
that is a total filmmaker answer.
I love the writing part. When I am, when we're in pre-production, I do think writing is pre-production.
Yeah.
I gotta send you guys this video. There's a YouTuber I love, Patrick H. Willems. He's a
Oh, I
great
love
film.
him.
He's awesome. He did this video about how heist movies are really about making movies.
Yeah,
I
I
gotta
love
send
that.
it
I
to you.
love
That's a
that.
great one. So yeah, whichever part I'm in, I mean, the writing is a lot of fun. Then yeah, this whatever stage I'm in, editing, I'll admit, is the hard one. That's the hardest of all of them. It's the most soul crushing of all of them.
That's where, in a lot of ways, that's where a movie's actually made. It's in the editing lab. It's not on the sets because you
Yeah,
can ask and fix and do whatever or cut
yeah.
afterwards. But an editing the editing lab is where a movie's made. And I'm with you. Okay. I am not a fan of editing.
I mean, I love doing it. It's the hardest and most thankless part because, you guys understand the editing process, but people outside don't get it. And they don't get how much weight you gain while editing because, you've got your Chex Party Mix and Twizzlers. Like look at Peter Jackson when he made the Lord of the Rings trilogy, how much
and look at
weight.
him after he
And
made
look
the
at him after.
I'm telling you, I totally get it. I myself in the same way. I'm a night owl. When it's at night when I want to work, it's when I want to write. It's when and maybe it's just because we do horror, so our headspace is just better in the dark. So, but yeah, it's also when I want to eat. It's like because I need to stay awake. I need to stay alert. It's like if I'm not editing for the next 3 hours, am I even editing? You know, like am I even putting in the grind if I'm not actually going to be like cutting out the 3 hours to do it? Because there are days, I mean, I'm sure you've had them, Eric, where you've opened up the system and you've sliced something and you're like, this isn't it.
Yeah.
I can't look at it. Close the laptop for today. I can't look
Countless
at it.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, there has, yeah, and there's that ways with the writing process where you're just like, I just took a 2 hour walk to get this brain going, and I've sat down here now because that's how I would do it. I would either go for a swim or go for a walk. And I'm sitting here and I'm typing, and I've typed like 2 lines of dialogue, and that's all I can get out of me today.
Yeah.
And and then there are those days where it just comes out
Oh,
like
yeah.
lava. You can I feel like if I stayed here right now, I could probably write the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like it but yeah. So what about you, Mr. Larry? What about you?
Well, I know, the one thing that I've learned early on about acting and the difference between an actor and filmmaker, and this is kind of like a no-brainer, but if people don't know what actors do, so actors are, their job is to show up on set and to be the voice and the vision and the action to the writer's words and then the director's words, right? Obviously, if it's an indie film, the writer is the director, Eric.
Yeah.
but I think actors are under the notion that parts will come to them, right? That people will seek them out. And that's probably true if they're in a small town or a small city. San Antonio, Austin, that's good. New York, LA, forget it. When you're in the sea, right? It is weird that, when you are in LA or New York, that you think and I've seen it time and time again, especially when I taught acting in LA, is people would come. It's like like the Welcome to the Jungle video, right? Where Axl Rose steps off the bus and he looks around, he's like, I'm in the
Eating the
city,
hay.
baby. I'm in the jungle. And people literally, they come to class and they're like, I'm me, man. I'm me. I'm gonna make this. This town is gonna be my city. And then you go to your first audition and you see 20 other yous, and then you realize, oh shit, I really have to put in some type of work to be noticed, not just on my looks, but I got to be able to look like the writer director, their vision, but also I got to be able to act my way out of a paper bag, right?
I get it.
And I think because of that, actors aren't lazy, but by design, they wait for people.
Yeah.
Which I think is a horrible, horrible thing for actors to do.
Yeah.
Being a filmmaker, on the other hand, you get to pick up a camera, a phone, and you just start shooting. And it's like, it doesn't matter what you shoot the first 400 times. You're learning. And so moving here is when moving to Texas is when I really had to go into the filmmaking side. And being able, and I remember early on, because I started working with our friend Micah Allen Johnson with her real estate school. Yes.
We love her.
Yes, we do. Yes,
Our
we
favorite
do.
Person.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes,
I would
yes.
literally take a bullet for her first before I would take a bullet for you guys.
Same.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
What?
no. Yeah, you would probably. So the way it would go is I would shield her first, and then if the bullet still hadn't hit y'all, then I would run back to take more. But I'm definitely saving Micah. Okay.
To me, it goes Mazzy, then Micah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Kyle would be making the shooter
Kyle is
regret
such a
every
Right.
decision he made in
Right.
his life.
Right.
Fair. Kyle is such a big dude that it probably wouldn't even phase him. It would be like a paper cut.
Oh my God. He'd be like, he'd
He's
be like,
also
and take it and just
Do
continue
you
to walk.
remember when
Yeah.
he told Kelsey on set, I can't even feel you on me?
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that he's y'all, for those listening, he's like a firefighter, like I think a born and raised Texan. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
man is like Texas. So
He's
like
like what,
he,
6'5", and he
yeah,
looks
so,
like
Like if
I
you
don't like
look up
a
Texas in the
wrestler.
dictionary, there's a
There's
picture of
of
Kyle
Yeah,
Kyle, yeah.
Texan,
And
you know.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
he'll be fine. He can
Yes.
probably take maybe 4 or 5 bullets before he realizes that he's been shot.
Actually, he would scoop all of us, and me, you, and Eric, and Micah and Mazzy into his arms and turn his back and still be able to shield all
Exactly.
of us.
And then
So
beat
yeah,
the guy to death with the bullets that were in his body. Like take them out.
right, throw him back.
Yeah, exactly,
Oh,
exactly.
God. I
So
love it.
yeah,
Yeah,
we love that entire family
Oh my God, they're
so
amazing.
much.
I have to say, one thing that I do not like, and I could never, is I can write like little commercials and promos, but not a script. I don't I know I don't have the patience, but I'm kind of like you, Dylan, and I've learned how to kind of like find my inspiration, go for a walk, go for a run, go play basketball, go play soccer, and let the idea kind of gestate. Because when you and I love editing. I love shooting, I love editing. To me, I don't look at editing like, like it's like anxiety, although sometimes you do. But again,
I
obviously,
started smoking cigars and drinking whiskey from the
right,
anxiety
right,
editing gave me.
Yeah, let me tell you, there's a
Right.
lot of things when I stepped on a film set that I was prepared for. You know what I was not prepared for? To be a handler. A handler and a taker. Take your meds, Eric. Nope, don't drink that, Eric.
Right.
Like, yeah, the shoot is over. Maybe we need to go to bed. Okay, we've got to wake up in another 6 hours.
You do
Then we've
know
got
that
to
on
set up the
every
scene
movie
again.
now, that's gonna be one of, oh my God, we can put you as the Eric Ringler in the credits or
Oh, man.
something like
Oh,
I
that.
love
yeah.
that because I
Oh,
was the
man.
Eric Wrangler. I can't tell you how many times, like, where's Eric? Where
Oh,
is
my
Eric?
God.
For
I'm like,
taking my cell phone from me
you know,
after drinking.
It's
yeah.
hilarious.
Or like, um, I have like I had to set a time, like every 9 p.m. you're supposed to take your meds. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's 8:55. I'm gonna kill the tractor if he doesn't take his meds.
He's gonna have a seizure in front of all of us and die.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm like standing next to a dead deer that we just, because we were on an active farm. And I'm like, where's Eric? Where's Eric? He's got to take his pills.
Oh my God, that just brings up so many memories. We literally, should we talk a little bit about the deer? The dead deer? Not the
No,
one I
because that's
hit.
gonna give stuff away.
Not the one
when
you mean the one I hit?
we were on an active farm, so you were gonna find dead animals every now
Not
and
the
then.
dead deer incident, though. I don't want to talk about that.
What, the one I hit?
Oh, that, yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, because the
God.
rental car fiasco of
Oh my God. Tell me about it. I hit, so it was in, living in rural anywhere, right? Texas, North Carolina, Indiana,
yeah.
whatever. There's deer galore. I know from personal experience, I've hit deer before, but not like this. I was turning away from the deer. I wasn't going that fast, I don't think. The
No.
deer ran into me, and I could see the eyes look at me as I ran him over with the front tire. Eric was over in the driver's seat. That was a blood curdling scream.
I'm gonna see if I still have the diary entry that I wrote as you tell this story.
Oh God, it's things like that you don't forget, but you don't get an opportunity to talk about until it comes up the 200th episode on a podcast show.
Yeah, yeah.
And or when you're talking about the movie, it's those are the things. But see, again, I think those are because my experience, I don't know about you fellas, but anytime you're on the set, you want to kill each other because
Always.
there's always it's high anxiety. There's high pressure to get stuff done.
There's
You're
funding
shooting
coming from other places, so you're
right,
trying to not be dicks and waste people's money.
right,
Yeah.
right,
You-
right,
you-
right.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, you're like you're on edge. Every question is like, yeah, let's just go. Whatever, man, just do
Yeah.
it. And then all of a sudden you end the minute everything action you're cut, you're wrapped, that's the end of production. Thank you. Everybody becomes best friends again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that speaks to so much of a creative person's life, because you make these, much like with you, Dylan. I mean, you know, we make these awesome like connections, and they become more than connections. They become a relationship where you don't necessarily have to talk to somebody every day,
Oh yeah.
but you get to relive every time you talk. I know with you. And every time, you know, get to talk to you, it's always that love and that affection, and it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, you know, there's no better feeling. There's no worse feeling, no better feeling being on a movie set or being in creative space, working with people that you respect and love,
Yeah.
but you still want to kill them. I don't know
Oh,
what it is.
always.
Uh, but they
Oh,
do, you
yeah.
know?
Always, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's also because what's so interesting about us is I think all three of us come from different fields of
Yeah.
film, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we have Eric, who's very like behind the scenes. We have obviously the actor. I mean, just looking at Larry right now, he looks like he's preparing a role for a cop with the stash, you know,
Oh,
going
you
on.
like that?
I do. Okay,
Nice.
baby. I'm trying. One of these days I'm gonna get there. Once I get the confidence, I'll have the stash. But might need to get some double chin fillers first.
I love it, man. You're so sexy, Dylan. I love it.
Thank you.
Your
I love it.
beard game, dude. Your
It's on
facial
point.
hair
Let me
game
tell you,
is off the charts.
it is. This hides all the surface flaws. Okay, I get so much compliments on the facial hair. I don't. People are like, Dylan, I'm curious what you look like. Look, I had 20 plus years with clean shaved. Okay. You should have known me then. The beard's never going away, baby. Wait till I get some gray. I'm gonna be unstoppable. Okay. Like, yeah, ladies.
Hey
Ladies,
guys,
gents, guys, they
All right, let's do it. Yeah.
baby. Wait till just wait.
I love
Honey.
it. I
But
love
yeah. I'm having
hold on, gentlemen. I found the entry for the book I was gonna write
Oh,
where we talk about the. Okay, ready?
okay.
I was an accessory to a murder. It's all over. It's all over were the only words going through my mind that cold April night on a dark road in Salado, Texas. My life is over. My movie is over before it even got started. We're going to have to tell the cops, our producer, and most terrifying of all, my mom. My assistant Liam was in the back seat, also at a loss for words. After filming the movie, he was going to go to film school, but not anymore. Dear God, not anymore. Outside of the car, my friend Larry Sands was looking over the body of the innocent life we had taken, with a little bit of hope that maybe, just maybe, she was still alive. He walked back to the car, put his head into the driver's seat window, and with ice cold eyes said, "Yeah, she's dead." But I'll come back to this story later.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
That was good.
yeah. So deer is a South thing. In fact, the way a lot of people in the South correspond to deer is that we live in their domain and we just happen to be passing through their country.
Right.
In a way, that is very true. But yeah, I've seen my fair share of deer. In fact, I have to drive like Eric probably has never experienced the lifestyle of driving with their brights on. Driving with my brights on is a very common thing. I'm constantly switching forth between my brights and my regular lights. So expect but yeah. So yeah, it's just Yeah, but yeah, like we all three have come from different spectrums. We have behind the scenes, we have the actor, and then I, in a way, am, I guess, the promoter. I do a lot of
Yeah.
online stuff. I do a lot of networking, like a lot of press.
Hold on,
So
you're a good actor, Dylan. You're a good
Yeah.
actor, and
Yeah.
you're
yeah,
going
there's
to be a
nothing
great
better than being
filmmaker.
told, like, hey, so this person's not going to be able to do it, so you're now doing it. So you're like, great, guess I get to learn how to act on in the moment. So, but luckily, I love these guys so much that like they could literally laugh at me, which they have, and I'd be cool with it. We'll just like they could literally say, like, Dylan, this is not working. Actually, this time, make it look believable. And you know, and I wouldn't take it personal. I wouldn't take it personal because yeah, it was fun learning how to act with these fools. But yeah, it was just yeah. So so as we're talking about work, I know like we're all something like I have things that like I can't talk about either because you know I make agree because I do a lot of press, so I do a lot of backhand agreements, and then like you can't talk. So embargoes are like my thing. I'm
Yeah.
always bound by some sort of embargo. So there's unfortunately not much that I can talk about my personal life right now. But I think Larry just got done shooting some stuff that he can talk about. I actually, if I had to rank the people in the room right now, he would actually be at the very, very bottom because he got to have a really good summer and it should have been me. I'm a jealous fool. I am a jealous fool. So talk about your time international.
Well, so you know, just like everything in life, all I said was yes. And it was my friend who we're gonna have her on the podcast, by the way. Um, I've known Sasha Zelig for quite a while. We both were instructors at Barbizon here in San Antonio, and then she became
That
one
sounds
of
like a
the
gentleman's club.
no, Barbizon is where they like the finishing school for girls, where they did modeling and acting
Oh,
and things like that. Yeah, and taught them really etiquette. Yeah, how to
sounds like
set
something that could
do
be
their
that
makeup.
and then a
Yeah.
gentleman's club after 11 p.m.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's what they're getting them ready for.
Right. Oh God. But I've known Sasha for the longest time, and she had asked me if I would be interested in talking to her about going to Greece, and I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, she wants to shoot it to like you know the travelers that go to Greece because it was interesting because now looking back like because up until going to Greece we talked about like the emotional connection because we went to all these like these power places, Aphrodite and her temple, really Poseidon's temple, all these ancient power places, and get a take on what it was like for the travelers to be at these in their emotional content. But having come back and really having a chance to kind of think about um uh going over there. By the way, it's if you have if somebody says, hey, do you want to go shoot my trip when I go to Greece, just say yes. Just say just say yes because I've been to a lot of places.
Look at
Greece
me, I'm Larry.
I know. I
Greece
get to
being
go soak up the wineries and like live with among the I bet the trees just looked Greece.
they did. They had olives growing on them. And one of my questions, because we went with a guide throughout Greece at these places, one of my questions was, do olives always grow on trees here? Just random trees. And obviously they kind of do, but it's amazing because when you're in Athens, you have like modern day, but right across the street, you have like these ancient ruins from the beginning of like mythology, right?
Mhm.
The beginning of Greece. Bluest of the skies, the bluest of waters. And it never ceased to amaze me because it came like a running joke. Is like every time I was eating Greek yogurt anywhere, I go, I can't believe I'm eating Greek yogurt in Greece. And they're like, yes, we know. Thank you. Thank you. And so it was always it's not lost on me. I'm very lucky, and to be able to put something like this together and actually like script it out in a way where that's one of the things when you have no script and you're just shooting, and then you get to go back and you have, it's like all these pieces of the puzzle. You have a big chunk of piece here, you have another chunk over here, and you have to figure out how to connect those dots in a way where the viewer is going to be like, oh man, I dig it. And I was talking to Sasha um shortly after we got back, and one of the things is I saw Greece as not a
Is the
tourist.
word.
Not a tourist, but it's different. It's different. It was an emotional place for me. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to be pursuing with this. But Greece, man, I tell you, if there's a film festival in Greece that they go, hey, what is your price? And oh, by the way, we'll pay for everything. You go, when, where, what time? What do
I'm
I need to
already on
wear?
the flight.
Right.
I'm at
Right.
the airport. I'm at the airport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love to travel. It is like outside of movies, which will always top my number
Yeah.
one thing. I love to travel. And I know people like to say that like in their like dating bios, I love to travel, but they really take like 2 trips. I love to travel.
And you're a
Okay.
traveler.
I am a
You
traveler.
are a
Okay. The
traveler.
reason why there's no money in the bank account half the time is because I spend it traveling for
Or
fun.
going to a Taylor Swift show in Los Angeles.
Exactly. Or going to a Taylor frickin' Swift show in Los Angeles where she announces 1980. I knew Jesus would return. I just didn't think that I would be in the room when Jesus would return. And I was there for the 1989 announcement. I had better seats than Carly Kloss, who was an enemy of Taylor Swift, who was at the show. So like,
Who's that?
just like chaos, baby. She did the blue dresses. Okay. So I was at that show. So for the Swifties,
Who's
I hoped her.
Kylie Cross?
Kylie Cross, she's a model. She was her best friend in the 1989 era. But then all of a sudden, they just stopped talking with each other because the rumor is Carly Kloss's manager at the time was indeed Scooter Braun. So there's rumors going around that I don't think Carly probably did this with ammunition or animosity, but I think that she gave Scooter the ammunition that would lead Scooter down the path to steal her work.
Yeah.
And because Taylor was like, I don't like Scooter, but Carly signed with Scooter. And sometimes when you're signed and you're on a 6 to 9 year contract, you're on a 6 to 9 year contract. You don't like working with that person, honey, after 6 to 9 years, then you leave. You know what I mean? But you just have to suck it up because that's Hollywood, baby.
Yeah.
See, that kind of reminds me like in 1997 when Bret Hart was feuding with Shawn Michaels. Now, they were 2 of the greatest performers of all time in that era. And when it came to the 1997 Survivor Series, which is called the Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart's plan was to, for it to be a squash or a DQ, as we call it. And then the next night on Raw, he was going to relinquish the title and then a month later start working for WCW. But Vince McMahon did something that was unthinkable till this day. He really, well, they say really, cheated Bret Hart out of the title by ending the match, which started in a way the Mr. McMahon character that gave us the Attitude Era or Monday Night Wars era.
See, this is what I love is it goes from filmmaking to Taylor Swift to wrestling, all under 5 minutes. I love it.
My goal, and I
love it.
swear at this date, Dylan, next April, you are going to watch WrestleMania with me both nights. I am going to get you so deep in the Bloodline storyline.
Everyone wants me to watch wrestling.
Huh?
You're not the only person who's been trying to get me to watch wrestling.
Can I tell you that right now, there is a storyline going on in wrestling that is about gaslighting family members, your ego, and how, yeah, it's amazing what's going on right now.
What's my two favorite things in the world? My ego and tearing people's families apart.
Well, no, I'm going to do this really, really fast because I'm going to get you guys hooked. Roman Reigns was always pushed as being the greatest wrestler of all time, but Vince McMahon, but he's this really good looking Samoan guy who's cousins with The Rock. And they tried to make him an underdog when he is the obstacle. So he has these two cousins, twins, the Usos, who are one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and their little brother, Solo. So the Usos never got on a WrestleMania card till Roman turned heel, beat up one of his cousins to join him. And the only way that cousin joined him is because he got his other cousin in a chokehold in a steel cage and wouldn't let go till the other guy submitted to him. So now he was going around telling them, without me, you guys would be nothing. I'm the only reason why you matter. If you leave me, you go back to nothing, even though they were amazing, but can't see that in themselves.
That's kind of hot.
Yeah. Okay, back to, our 200 episode and filmmaking.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think,
So I do have a serious filmmaking question to ask for both of you guys. So let's be honest, this has been the year of flops when it comes to big budget movies. The Marvels opened at 47 million. Now again, Hillsborough Road somehow gets theatrical and we make $47 million. We're the toast of the town,
Exactly.
Stephen.
We are never working another day in our lives, which is kind of a lie. Let's be for real. We're gonna keep
working on making movies, but
Yeah.
we get the Spielberg call, James Cameron's asking us for advice, but Marvel died this weekend.
Yeah.
DC is on life support.
Yeah.
The Fast and the Furious didn't do well. Tom Cruise didn't, a few years ago, Tom Cruise saved the theatrical experience, but now not. Guys, do you think that with this happening, with the strikes that happen, do you think we're gonna get the mid-budget movies back? Because
yes, I actually say that we do. Look at what's going on with Killers of the Flower Moon. It wasn't like a big box office hit, but I cannot stop hearing people talking about that. And also, yes, Barbenheimer was a big deal because of the marriage of the two, but Oppenheimer is about to join the $1 billion club. Now, yes, that was a $100 million movie or whatnot, but at the end of the day, it is still a 3-hour-long talky film about people standing in rooms talking science and chemistry, which is not something that you would think many people would be interested in watching, even if it did cost $100 million to make. So I think that we are seeing a shift, just the way that we saw a shift in the mid-early 2000s when we were moving into superhero films. I think there's always going to be a market, and there's always superheroes will come back like they always do, just like the way the Westerns came back and they died away. And, there's always going to be a niche and a demographic for it, just like the way with horror. Like, we talk a lot about horror. Horror is constantly evolving, and that's why you might talk to somebody whose favorite horror is the 50s or the 70s or the 80s or the early 2000s or the 2010s. It's just so I find I actually would be thrilled if the mid-budget movies become like the standard, the norm. I'm not saying that it has to be an original idea, or maybe it's just adapted to something, because there's still tons of original movies. The reason why my least favorite complaint is everything these days is always based. You're not looking. If you tell me that everything that's coming out these days is just based off of some IP or superhero film or some blockbuster, you're not looking. You're just simply not looking. I can tell you, I could open up my Netflix account. I could open up Tubi. I could open up any sort of thing, and I can give me maybe even a minute or a minute, I will find something that came out this year that was not based off of something. That was an original idea. Every weekend there's something coming out. There's just this mass quantity of stuff.
Yeah, I
Which
saw The Holdovers last week, and that's the best non-horror movie I've seen this year.
I loved that movie so much. It's not, I've seen some people say it's like a cozy film. It's yes and no. It's cozy in the presentation of like, a teacher at a boarding school having to take care of the kids who can't go home for the holidays, and the way that it's shot, it has that sort of like film grain, and it feels very like it feels like something that we would have watched in the 80s or 90s around Christmas time.
Yeah, you need
type
to
of-
see it, Larry.
yeah, it very, like, I don't want to compare it to movies like Stand By Me or something like that, but like it has that level of
That good.
coziness.
Wow.
It has that level of like coziness of those type of original films that you would put on around a certain time of the year, but it's talking about like real issues at the same time. You know what I mean? Like that's why I wouldn't necessarily say it's cozy, because the subject matter is very hard.
Yeah.
The idea of loneliness, about I eat anything up about family dysfunction. Family dysfunctions is my favorite thing in the entire world, whether it's in horror or drama. So this is all about like this guy, he comes from a wealthy family.
Yeah.
And the teacher did not come from a wealthy lifestyle. So he kind of already feels like, screw these little kids, in a way. They've always had a plate given to them. But this kid comes from a wealthy family who really doesn't want anything to do with them. They'd rather go fly off to Key West and, with their new lover, then spend time over the holidays with their juvenile delinquent son, but still juvenile.
But there's a reason for that.
But there's a reason for that, and I love The Holdovers. This is actually leading into pretty much my next question.
Well, I have one for Larry that I want to tack on before we go into it. So,
Okay.
Larry, to add on with the change coming, and Dylan, if you wanted to mention this after Larry's done, go for it. The
Yeah.
norm used to be someone has the big hit at Sundance. We'll use Richard Linklater for an example. Slacker comes out, then Universal has their mid-budget thing, Polygram. They also did this with Kevin Smith. It would be, hey, what's your passion project? What do you want to do next? When now it's, oh, wow, Mark Webb, you had a hit indie movie and your last name is Webb. You want to do Spider-Man? Which is the only reason he got that job.
Yeah, you can't convince him otherwise.
Larry, do you think we're going to get to that now, where instead of these indie directors, and he did other work before that, he did the I'm Not Okay music videos, so he's a great director, but do you think instead of these young directors getting these big box office movies, that it's going to be back to the passion movies, and maybe we'll get movie stars back?
Man, that would be great. Obviously we kind of grew up in an era, like with the movie star, right? Because I think the last great movie stars, or the ones that I paid attention to, was Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, George Clooney, people like that, Matt
Cruise.
Damon. Yeah, Tom Cruise, Bruce Willis. I think because of, and maybe, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, maybe Dylan, you have an idea or an opinion about this, but I think because there's so many different streaming platforms, hopefully it does come back for passion projects, because I think now that there's going to be a lull in the Marvels and these IP projects, right? Hopefully they're going to be able to look at movies as a creative art form, like it was before, where it's not just money after money after money, and you're going to throw money to make because that's when you get, I think, Hollywood's attention, is when you throw a bunch of money at an IP project and it comes back with minimal return. I say $46 million is a whole heck of a lot. but not
And
for a Marvel movie.
why is that not enough anymore? Oh, it's because it costs 250 million to make.
Right.
That's why
right,
And
47
another
million.
250 to market it.
Right.
Exactly.
And to now that you have these streaming guys and it used to be where Brad Pitt and all the movie stars got $20 million a picture. And you knew why, because they were worth it in the international, and then yes, they could make it up in the domestic or whatever, but they had their 20 million, you knew why. But nowadays, it's like with all these streaming CEOs, they're the ones not making 20 million. They make 200 million a year. So you have to ask yourself and especially, when you think about that in terms of like the studio system, is when you are already have to make 200 million to pay a CEO, how much more do you have to make in your big budget blockbuster movie to justify that CEO, and then pay your actors, pay the people for making the fucking movie.
Exactly. Go
I
off.
mean, what is hard with that?
Yeah. I absolutely agree. I think look, I didn't say this, so if Disney comes into our, inboxes saying, "Hey, we want you to make a movie," we never said this. But why is Disney constantly like flaunting money around?
Right.
It's like they have to. It's like they have to have the caviar every day
Right.
on these
Yeah.
sets for every single thing, and I'm like, but yet you're gonna pay your employees $13 an hour
Right.
to
Right.
run around working 16-hour days.
Yeah.
But you want to have the caviar on the food trucks. You want to have the caviar in the studio lots that you use and in the marketing that you use. It dare I say, feels almost a little money laundering at the end of the day.
Right.
Well, the
right,
Warner
right,
Brothers
right.
guy, I think the only reason Coyote versus Acme
He was
is now
bullied.
allowed to be sold is because, like, yeah, that was money laundering because he
Yeah.
was like going to do a tax write-off or
Yeah.
something.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
for a project that apparently is testing extremely well. So it was just like, I don't really care, no, for this project.
Just to be able to
I'm
make
just
the
going to
money,
use it to
yeah.
get some more money out of
Right,
it.
Right.
And now, yeah, so he got bullied into no longer doing it. So,
Yeah.
maybe it is good to nipple twist an old CEO executive and
Right.
he
Right.
still his lunch money.
Right. I loved Bob Iger when he was in charge of Disney before the other guy took over and during the streaming era, right?
Yeah.
I love Bob Iger because it seemed to me he was always fair, and he would do projects and he'd follow the brand, which is great, that's what it should do. But now in the streaming era, I feel since he's come back, there's a mess. And I think, and I don't know how you feel about this, Dylan or Eric, but there's a reason the strike went on so long, because the
He was one of
streamers,
them.
I think the streamers know that the jig is up, because
Yeah.
where are they going to find all this money to pay the actors, much like what they did in the studio system going to the movie theater?
Oh, we're paying for it. That's why our Netflix prices have
Right,
raised 4
exactly.
times since the strike started. Literally, the strike ended, and I got an email the
Oh, and
day
it's going up.
before that it's going
Yeah.
up again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that 2%, that silly little 2% that everyone's asking for, and keep in mind, yes, there are A-list actors in this strike or whatnot that had
But it
to.
wasn't about them.
But it's not about them. There are so many actors who probably their taxes are 26,000 for the year,
And
maybe
yeah.
even less.
Yeah.
Maybe even less, because
I
I
can
think
attest to that.
yeah, and like they're maybe even less. So and you have to make like a certain amount in order to get health insurance and stuff like that. So they're like, okay, you're gonna cut my health insurance for the year, and I'm gonna go on strike because that's how important this is to me. And we're asking for 2%, which is for so many of them the budget of another movie. at the end of the day, a budget for one of their IP films. That's all that they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
And et cetera. So you know what they've done? Yeah, they just upped their prices on their streaming services.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Yeah.
make the good old American folks pay for the 2%. Now
Yeah.
you can't convince me otherwise, because every streaming service has upped their prices, and they
Yeah.
upped it during the strike. That was how they were gonna, and they did it, and they realized not too many people have left so far. So that's how that they were gonna pay for
But
it all.
here's the thing, they're gonna learn in the long run. Again, I joke about the WB a lot, but here's the thing. If they go back now to their network shows, let's say they make, a multi-camera family sitcom where there's, the cool older brother, the cute girl, and the parents and another kid, and then the guy's best friend. During the off season, you take that girl, you put her in a slasher movie that your company's making, because there's that built-in thing, people are going to want to go see her. The hot boy who's in the movie, you can move him into the Robin role for your next Batman movie or whatever superhero. There's that built-in fan base. So by focusing on streaming, now again, I have all the services.
Dang.
I have Shudder and Hallmark. Why? But also, I would love to go back to watching network TV,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there is something special about that. And think about this: there are no stars in their 20s right now.
Right.
Jenna Ortega is there. Rachel Zegler must be stopped. Let's talk about this.
I have paused the Rachel Zegler hate because I'm a massive Hunger Games fan. I'll pick it up after the Hunger Games, but
Yeah, but Dylan, if she would, how dumb is she? Again, she's from Patterson. I respect her for that.
she's in her 20s. She's gonna say things, and you're gonna say things in your 20s that you probably shouldn't say. And I think there's a time where I will forgive Rachel Zegler for her Snow White comments. I think there's a time where I'll forgive her for her. She got popular through the West Side Story. I think the fame got a little bit to her head.
Yes.
I think she was not PR trained.
Disney's building has pillars for the seven dwarves because they're the pillars of the company.
Now it's going to be the
Snow
seven
White-
hipsters, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Now they're going to be the seven hipsters.
No, they went back to the dwarfs.
Oh,
There was that CGI thing, but they're like just as tall as her and terrifying.
wait a minute. They're going to be CGI dwarfs?
Yeah.
So
Look,
I
this
think
is
so.
the problem with Hollywood.
Mhm.
And I can tell you, why would they do CGI dwarfs when there's plenty
Plenty of
little
actors.
people
Yes.
that would love?
Kill to be in that movie.
And again, if
What
you
is the
want to, and let's say,
problem?
you want to do, again, I'm more than sure the three of us hate woke and cancel culture with all our hearts.
Yeah.
If you want to be cool, okay, get dwarf actors and get multiracial ones, and then you're doing even more because you're not only giving a dwarf actor, you're giving an Asian American dwarf actor a
You know what?
job.
Why don't we write original stories around these characters?
You can.
Why don't we?
Yeah, I don't get it. I too am not a big fan of cancel culture because I feel like 90% of the people who get canceled don't deserve to get canceled.
Right.
And I will say, I did not like Rachel Zegler's comments. But I do think that I can eventually forgive her over time. I think she's just a child who got famous, who didn't get the proper PR training, started speaking with a little bit of an ego. But Hunger Games is coming out. We all know I was bad. I had it bad from
What if she
2012 to 20.
bashed the original trilogy of movies?
Yeah. What'd you say?
What if she bashed the original movies?
She wouldn't do that because those are quality cinema. Okay, she's a child, so I could tell you she grew up on Hunger Games, Twilight, Maze Runner. Harry Potter. There's no way she would bash it because that she would probably say that she liked those movies more than a Scorsese joint. I guarantee you. But
Scorsese who?
Can I just say Scorsese is so anti superhero movies, but so pro TikTok. And I just want to say,
That's-
he's for
yeah.
me. He's for me. You know, he's always dropping TikTok videos with his daughter.
I didn't know he had a
Yeah.
TikTok. I
Yeah,
gotta follow
'cause his
him
daughter,
tonight.
right?
You got to follow. Okay, it's technically his daughter. It's Francesca Scorsese, but he's always on there, and he is so funny and so lovable. And like the fact that Scorsese is always on TikTok but hates superhero movies is
Right.
just like
Yeah.
the best thing.
Yeah.
Because he's with the times, but he understands
Yeah.
that the only reason why superhero movies exist is because the CEO executives just see that as a cash flow. But he also
Yeah.
sees that like TikTok in a way is just like a place where people can just be creative.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad stuff that comes with that because people are always gonna, but like ultimately he sees like the perks and
I love
benefits
it.
of it.
Yeah.
So I am a massive, I love Scorsese. But
Yeah,
I just
Francesca listens to the show, so we'd like to invite her on wherever. she
Yeah,
is.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Francesca is awesome. She's one of my favorite TikTokers, and not just because her father is Martin Scorsese, but because she realizes like she's great. She's great. So I like her videos even when Martin's not even like.
I'll check her out tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should. You should definitely look. You can literally put Martin Scorsese TikToks, and you'll find her videos.
Okay, I'll do that when we're done.
Yeah.
Right, we need to be wrapping up a bit soon.
Yeah,
So Dylan, let's get into
so-
some more questions.
Yeah, so well, this is kind of like we could almost kind of conclude on this because now that I've broken down our life or how we got into it, different process and feel, I wanted to talk a little bit. In a sense, my final little statement is in a sense the inspirations, obviously, like what type of projects or films, or in a sense, like what type of films did we grow up watching that kind of inspired us to get into filmmaking? And also if there is something that you have been watching throughout the year that you would recommend listeners to watch, whether that is a show or a movie, because while yes, we are busy folks, baby, we're out here working the grind, okay?
Yeah.
But we're also watching stuff. Okay, we sit down with our wives or our significant others or our little toys, and we turn something on the TV. Okay, what are we watching? Okay, what are we watching, ladies and gentlemen? So, Eric, I'm going to start this with you. What would you say got you into filmmaking, and what would you recommend listeners to be watching from this year?
Well, the movies that made me fall in love with movies as a kid, I'm going to go with the usual suspects, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, but my family let me watch everything. So, I mean, I was watching Scarface as a little kid, The Warriors as a little kid.
Love
Then
that.
when I got older, as a teen, I think when you're a teenager is when you start to make your own decisions about the kind of movies you like.
Yeah.
So again, and I grew up in the independent boom, the Tarantino era, the Kevin Smith, and then, like 96 when Scream came out and Kevin Williamson and all that stuff. So those are really my inspirations as a filmmaker, as all of that stuff. And what I'm watching now, man, I just watched the Sean Levy Netflix series, All the Light We Cannot See.
Huh?
And that was amazing.
Okay, I read that book. Not normally something I would read, but I've been too scared to watch it.
It's
But
pretty good. And recently, because of a project I've told Larry about, what's going to be the third movie we do, I've been rediscovering the films of Wes Anderson, who is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. And then another movie-wise, man, anything on Shudder is just blowing my mind right now. The Elevator Game was really, really good. There's again, like you, Dylan, I watch so much. It's hard to mention, what I'm watching. YouTube-wise, everybody subscribe to Patrick Wilhelm. He is his video just recently about who killed cinema, and it's like a 90-minute feature about why then he's like dressed up like Kenneth Branagh's character from the
I
you'll like it, Larry.
You would actually like him a lot. He's high energy, he's fun, he's very like they're video essays too. So they're not just like some like like us nerds sometimes who just sit in the back. But he's like, they're full on video essays.
And then there's an ongoing story in the background that they did a
he-
feature film for.
Yeah. I love him. I do a lot of driving now for work. Sometimes I have to drive 2 hours to go to work sometimes. So I will put some of those type of videos on and like listen to them. And he is incredible. I actually do think you would like him quite a lot.
And I have one more thing. Again, I joke about wrestling a lot, but the Bloodline storyline, this gaslighting storyline that's going on in wrestling, and it watch wrestling. I know, yeah, it's fake, just like everything else you watch, but the storyline, Sami Zayn had a storyline just recently that made me cry at the end of the match. It was like, wow, you really feel the passion of Sami Zayn's wife deserves an Emmy nomination just because of the way she was acting during his match.
Mm.
And again, I am going to make Dylan a huge wrestling fan. That's my goal for 2024. Okay, Dylan, there's this guy named Maxwell Jacob Freeman. He's about to be in the Iron Claw movie. His thing is he doesn't break character, and people know this about him. So they pay money for him to insult them. Like, someone came in a wheelchair to an autograph signing and he went, you know what? I'm going to do something special for you. He stood up and gave the guy a standing ovation. And the guy paid him money and got his autograph.
That is wild. I will say, maybe the Iron Claw movie will do it. Sometimes you got to show me a movie in order to get me to get into something. So I'm hoping, because I'm very excited for the Iron Claw movie.
The Iron Claw, Larry, is the Von Erichs movie.
Oh, nice. No,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Someone described it as the male version of the Virgin Suicide, and which
Watch the Dark Side of the Ring special about them on Tubi.
Yeah, I actually did do the research, so I actually now know everything that kind of happened in it, and I cannot believe that all happened to one family.
It's heartbreaking.
That is horrifying. Yeah, it's got like so many great actors. Zac Efron's obviously the biggest top bill in it. I've heard it to absolutely like a knockout. It's incredible. Watch that, and I'll be texting Eric. I'll be like, so where do I start?
Well, what is this kayfabe they speak of?
Yeah. All right,
Larry?
Larry. Well, how about yourself? What got you into film, and what are you recommending for viewers?
Oh man. I think, obviously Star Wars. I remember watching Indiana Jones, and I think this is one of the reasons I really like Steven Spielberg. But there's something about Indiana Jones where I literally carried a whip around, I don't know how many years, and I would and it always fascinated me, because you know how Indiana Jones would just throw his whip and it would wrap and he would be able to swing to safety. And I don't care how many times I tried to wrap a whip around a tree branch, or my grandpa had a green work truck, and he had where it was scaffolding on top.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I know exactly.
And so I would take that whip and I go whoosh, and wrap it around and try to climb up the truck. I would fall. I don't know how many times, but I think that really started being in that world of I don't know, just like letting go and being creative and maybe into acting. I do know that when I decided to go to LA, I had been in so I switched, because high school football is here big in Texas, right? So I played football. I wasn't if anybody knows me, knows how little I am. They put me as a nose guard.
Are you serious?
I am dead serious.
What were the other guys like? If you're
dude,
with
they were giant, and like linemen, they're big. I mean big. And one of the things that there was halftime, and the coach looked at me, goes, and it was like a Rudy moment. He's like, look Terrence Sands. He's just throwing himself at these linemen. He's going, what are you guys doing? And I thought to myself, this is cool, but I'll probably never be in the NFL. And so I switched to theater arts, and I was a senior, and it was like our last play, or one of the plays. It was like a dinner theater thing. And I was sitting in psychology, and the teacher had gone to the dinner theater, right? And she, in class, she dropped a note, and she goes, there's something about you. You did so good. I don't know what it is. But she said, just keep, being you. And I thought, oh, that's weird. Then I went to college for music. And then I was like, I went to Waco. And I was like, man, there's something about, being an actor. So that's when I went to California to do the acting thing. I always, like inspired. I talk a lot about Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp and stuff. Man, if I was half as handsome as those guys, I'd be living in Hollywood. I don't know. But those were my inspirations for acting. And then I think because we talk a lot on the podcast about like filmmakers, and there is something about Steven Spielberg and not the simpleness, but it's like a no frills thing, I
Yeah.
mean, when you look at like Raiders, and even before like all CGI stuff, and just working with I love going to Universal Studios, work there. But going in on the backlot tour, and half the tour is because of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just finally took that tour for the first time this year.
Really?
See, it's
Yeah, I was
amazing.
for Taylor Swift, baby.
Yeah.
I stayed a couple of extra
It's
days,
like,
played tours when I was in LA.
yeah.
And I went and I was like, I want to go to Universal because I've never done the backlog tour.
Wow.
And I had a great time. I got to see the
Yeah.
Shining House. I mean, no,
Psycho.
fan, Psycho House.
Yeah.
Big fan. Don't know why I said that.
Did you know
I
that
have
a
seen the
field?
Shining House. I have been to the Shining House.
Yes, you
Um,
have.
But so yeah, I just did the backlot tour also. So but yeah, what would you recommend for listeners out there that you've watched that particularly this year that you have found has
Don't laugh, Dylan. I'm not gonna laugh. You don't laugh either. Anything but 30 Day Fiance, Larry.
Okay, look. Honestly, I'm starting to make a little bit more time, trying to stop at, a decent hour to go sit and watch movies. I really like Asteroid City.
Hey!
That was
Yes.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is.
Begin a theory of mine that I'm gonna mention after you talk.
Well, so one of the things, because when I sit and work, I listen to music, and I love my daughter because she's so hip, and she's so, without trying to be. And yeah, okay, so I grew up with her watching SpongeBob and the Wiggles, all these Teletubbies, and
Oh yeah.
and I love SpongeBob, and I love One Direction because of her, right? And because my dad liked Guns N' Roses because of me. So she turned me on to Harry Styles. She turned it on. And every time I sit down, I tell like Alexa, she'll probably turn on. But I say play Harry Styles. Every time I go for a walk, I listen to Harry Styles. And I'm kind of stuck on Harry Styles, but every time Megan comes home for the holidays or whenever, she always has like, now she's into Taylor Swift. So every time I hear like Taylor Swift or Harry Styles, I text her and go, hey, guess what I'm listening to? And it's just that those are the things. But I'm taken aback by Harry Styles. I think the same way that you, Dylan, are taken back by Taylor Swift. Their honesty in their music,
Mm-hmm.
and I love Harry Styles for that, because I don't necessarily follow him, but I follow him in his music.
Yeah.
And I think he's written most all of his songs. I think. Maybe I haven't even looked
I
into
think
that, but
solo career,
everything,
and if not, he's working with the best of the
oh,
best,
it's
and
the
there's
best,
nothing wrong with that.
the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just the phrasing, the music, it's not straightforward. There's always something. Every song to me is different, and that's what I love
Oh yeah.
about everything creative. Everything is different. Everything, you can hear it 20 times and still pick out something new. So yeah, Harry Styles is the man at the moment.
I love that for you so much because I love Harry Styles.
Good.
I listen to Harry's House, baby, all the time.
I tell you.
Okay, satellites, put it on, baby. We're going.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And
I
yeah,
can't wait for my Spotify playlist because it's gonna be Harry Styles.
I
So,
love that for you. I'm actually worried that Taylor Swift might not be my number one artist this year.
Really?
That's gonna be a first.
I
Because
think MCR is gonna be mine because I haven't listened to the new Blink album that much.
okay. Yeah, I think mine is actually going to be Noah Khan. I
Oh,
think I've
he's
been listening
good.
to a lot of
Yeah.
him. I even went and saw him in concert too early this year.
Oh, cool.
wow.
And he put out an album. And y'all know I love Family Dysfunctions. I hated
Yeah.
the small town I grew up in. So, and that's all that his album is entirely about. It's about growing up in a town that you hate, and it's just pretty much shit talking that. And I just connected so damn well to that Stick Season album. He's from up north. He's from the Vermont
Okay.
area. So he
Wow.
talks a lot about New Vermont and New England. So he lived right on that like borderline. So he constantly so he talks a lot about that. And he has songs like Paul Revere and Growing Sideways, and he has a song called New Perspective, which is literally about like people who get like, what if you see people in a town, how do you feel when you look at somebody, you see somebody who's actually thriving in a small town, and how it just kind of pisses you off, and you want to, in a sense, bring them back to their new perspective, because all they have is a Target on the interstate, and they're acting like it's like, so I love him. I love him. So
Nothing wrong with that, by the way. If you own a
exactly.
Target, you're the man.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
So he might actually be my number one Spotify listener this year.
And speaking of that, I like just got into him because of the Post Malone song, because I like Post Malone. And here's a crazy
Style
thing.
Drunk goes so hard. I love that song.
Here's a crazy thing, and I just thought about this. So like Rockstar, the radio edit.
Yeah.
This is crazy. The
Post
radio edit,
Malone's
me and Megan would be like, I've been living like a rock star. And then every time I hear the radio edit, I would text Megan and be like, hey, guess what I'm listening? I've been living like a. And then I heard the radio edit. I was like, what the is this? Me and Megan are like bonding over this. but it's so funny. But that's who we are.
Yeah.
And I think that's what art, music, books, acting, filmmaking is supposed to be. And much like kind of like us tonight. I mean, talking about a myriad of different things that have brought us together, and just like let it rip. And this is one for the ages. This is one for the ages, man.
Yeah, 200 episodes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So I hope that you got to just listen to us, in a sense, shoot the shits for for a good while, have a good time. I'll keep mine very short. It's Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is what got me into it. It was the first horror film I ever saw, and I recommend everybody watch Saltburn. I just saw it last night. It's my favorite movie I've seen all year. I'm obsessed with it. All movies would benefit if they were a lot more horny. That's my 2 cents. Every movie just needs to be a lot more horny these days.
Amen.
It is a new talented Mr. Ripley meets Cruel Intentions.
Oh, wow.
It is pretty much a guy. He's a nerd. He reads books. Barry Keoghan, he'll play the Joker and DC's Joker, and we're talking about Matt Reeves' Joker. He's that's that actor. He goes to a mansion, 1%. And he pretty much gets to live the lifestyle like the Great Gatsby. But
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
now.
I saw it last night, and I have not stopped thinking about it. It is outrageous. It is horny. It is dark. It is twisted. It is so me. And it was the type of movie that I'm pretty sure if other people were to watch it under my recommendation, not knowing me, they would lock me in an insane asylum because of how just like dirty it is. It's from the director of Promising Young Woman. It's her new film.
Okay.
So that would
what
be my
streaming
recommendation.
platform is that on?
It's going to actually be an Amazon film when it comes out. So right now
Oh,
it
it's
is
so sad. That's the first question you asked.
Right.
Larry.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know, I
But so it's
know.
getting a theatrical run because unlike
Good.
Netflix, Amazon does put out movies in
They
theaters.
do.
Good.
So they do. So it's going to get, and I do believe it's going to be their Oscar race film. I do not think it's, I think the Oscars and the Academy are just too pussies to actually nominate a film like this, if I'm being honest, because of how risque and dirty it is. But like it just is a film that's unapologetically itself and it goes for broke. It is definitely not a film you would want to watch with Megan. It is a very, very sort of hard R, cruel intentions, talented Mr. Ripley, where you've got somebody who's not in the 1% entering into the world of the 1% and how that, and they get to live this sort of Great Gatsby lifestyle of sex, rock and roll, parties every night. But are they of body, mind, and soul? Are they in maybe perhaps an unreliable narrative that we're following here? Who knows? It is from the director of Promising Young Woman. So it has Rosamund Pike, it has Jacob Elordi, Carey Mulligan, just an amazing cast. And it is just, I am obsessed with it. It is easily my favorite movie of the year. So that was it comes out Thanksgiving, not the type of movie you want to go see with your family on Thanksgiving, but I hope people do for the shits and giggles of it all. So I do want to wrap this up because I have a feeling you've probably skimmed some of this if you have been listening this whole time. But yes, this is our 200th episode. I hope you learned a little bit about us. I love these guys. And
Right back at you, man.
Yeah, I love these guys. What's so cool about it is we are all different in so many different ways, but we always, we love working with each other and talking and stuff like that.
Love you, Dylan. Thank you, man.
Love you
Thank
guys.
Thank you. And I think the minutes ran with the show. So it's like 200th show, 200th minute. So
I think
I
so.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But that's the way it is. When you get when you get us together, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you. Love you, brother.
Love you guys. Well, everybody, thank you so much. And, I think me and Larry promise we're going to actually put effort into the next 100 episodes. We're going to try. Bye, everybody.